Hi everyone. Me langar att tala isländsku, but I will keep to English today. Thank you for choosing the category of the future. I think that technology and the future cannot be without each other. In fact, today how we do things is actually defined by technology, and it will be even more so. In fact, maybe the clothes you are wearing are actually developed by technology that I will be speaking about today. But today I will be focusing on the manufacturing success from high-performance computing. So my research has been on how Iceland's high-performance computing profile fuels disruption in the automotive industry. And just to explain this, basically, the environment that Iceland has, the combination that comes together here on this island, uniquely in the world, has actually created the luxury EV revolution that we see today. And before I explain myself for this bold statement, I would like to tell you that the research is my own, the conclusions are my own, and all of the information that you will hear about is public information. So nothing I am revealing is confidential. You can find it online. I won't be presenting any sources because there are just too many, but you are very welcome to contact me later and we can keep the discussion going. Now, whether you work in IT or not, I do believe that you should know what high-performance computing is. High-performance computing has changed the world, but not much longer, unfortunately, and I will explain why. But first of all, high-performance computing, which is basically computers that are able to calculate many things at the same time in a reasonable amount of time, have created virtual environments in which we can test products, such as cars, as you can see the Koenigsegg on the screen. With that, by taking into account, for example, the air pressure, the resistance, the density of the material, and the aerodynamic performance, we have been able to eliminate flaws before they are created, because we are testing this in a virtual environment and not with physical prototypes. In fact, traditional trial and error are actually gone, because now we have highly sophisticated virtual environments for any manufacturing process, such as fabrics, such as packaging, airplane engines, and automotives. However, this cannot keep on going forever. Everything comes at a price. This is not news, by the way. You can find this everywhere online. We are emitting with these energy-hungry machines more than the air travel industry. And if you know how much we travel today, you will understand how many emissions this is creating. And a brief research on what emissions actually do to the human health will get you scared of the fact that this is really a silent killer. So there is this development on one side of hyper-efficient engineering, of amazing progress, but we're also killing ourselves in the process. So we have a solution to one problem, but we're not exactly evolving on the other side. Now, this would be a very sad story, okay? Because we wouldn't be able to keep on going the way we're doing unless we know where to go. And so parts of my job is to educate and sort of reach out to the world with this amazing combination and unique combination that Iceland has for hosting high-performance computing machines. You probably know about Iceland being a technologically ready country, and I am actually amazed by how Icelanders adopt technology and they want to learn and innovate and keep on developing. But for IT, for data centers, and for high-performance computing, which is very energy-hungry and heat-producing, this combination is unique, okay? Now let's go through this. I can talk about this for a long time, but we have a limited amount of time. So, top security. Iceland is one of the safest countries in the world, which really matters when you are putting your precious IT into a place. We have green, available, and low-cost energy. Now, if you think of computers as humans, we would like to have the best quality food for the lowest cost possible, right? And this is what they get in Iceland. When it comes on the scale of high-performance computing, you will understand a little bit later that this really makes a difference, where there is sustainable, low cost and available energy that you can just plug in and you can power another cluster. We have free cooling 24/7, 365, and that is really unique in the world. Okay, this combination is a competitive combination to other environments on the globe, but Iceland is actually unique with the temperature fluctuation. We actually, it doesn't really get very warm and it doesn't really get very cold, and that is optimal for servers and for data centers in general. We have technological readiness in the country, we have world-leading expertise, and this combination is unique in the world. There are many competitive combinations, but this one is actually unrivaled. This is not news, okay? If you just make a quick Google search, just like we were hearing from the Google Assistant, you will see that world-renowned analysts such as Cushman and Wakefield, PwC, IDC, they all praise Iceland for this profile. And customers that, or clients, or manufacturers that decided to escape this this prejudice that there is out there about Iceland, that I'm sure you all know about, they have reaped amazing benefits. And in fact, this is where I go into my actual research, where I have taken a look into 2 auto manufacturers that decided to make the bold move and test this this combination. This is a really nice car, and I'm very excited that it's coming out in 3 or 4 years. It's actually a BMW. I'm sure that many of you drive a BMW, and I'm more than sure that you enjoy it. But I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't know that in 2012 BMW had sort of a big meeting, and they understood something very simple but extremely important, and this is something that is applicable in business, in personal life. If you change nothing, nothing will change. If you take a look at BMW in 2012, at least my generation, even today, I mean, we're not really into BMWs quite yet. We sort of associate BMWs with sort of the 4th, 5th car of a middle-aged man. We don't really think about it as like the cool car to drive in your 20s. However, they knew that they needed to take on a new market. They needed to do it sustainably because they knew that the future was powered by technology. It was powered sustainably because they understood the emission taxes that are coming, and they also understood that they needed to step up their game in terms of competitiveness and business profile. They knew that they couldn't do this in Germany. In Germany, and in other European countries that are heavy on industry and heavy on innovation, electricity and availability of electricity is a big problem. So BMW knew that this wouldn't be possible in Germany. In 2012, they made the bold move. They were the first German auto manufacturer to move the applications that they needed to build this new generation of sustainable vehicles. The applications were crash simulation, aerodynamic testing, computer-aided design, all in all, 10 clusters at 6.3 gigawatts per year, and I will explain this later, to Verne Global in Keflavik. Now, otherwise, unless sourced sustainably, and of course all energy in Iceland is sourced sustainably, this would have created enormous emissions. Think about the silent killer that I was talking about before. It would have brought them a huge amount of electricity costs. And if you think that your electricity bill is high this winter, on a scale, 1 gigawatt is enough energy for 550,000 homes, assuming one home uses 11,000 kilowatt per year. So, assuming that Iceland has around 350,000 homes, this was even more electricity than that. Okay, so if you are considering that bill for your next product, you need to know where to intelligently put that machinery in order for that to not end up on your financial statement. This was a really bold move by BMW because if you take a look at other car manufacturers at that time, I was really interested in comparing what was happening in the automotive industry at that time. And yes, auto manufacturers did understand that this was an imperative. They needed to do things sustainably. They couldn't go on and have a data center powered by coal. However, BMW were the only ones that decided to fast forward to simplicity and just move things to Van Global. Now, what did they achieve? If you're in business and if you are on either side of the scale, you will care about two things: return on investment and total cost of ownership. Return on investment is one of the results, and I think that it's self-explanatory what it is. You would like to have it as soon as possible and as large as possible. Impressingly enough, compared to what BMW would have paid before, they saved 82% on that electricity bill. Now, by doing nothing, okay, not having sold anything yet, just developing their cars in a virtual environment, they actually already paid only 12% of the electric bill, to the equivalent of 550,000 homes. What would you do if someone would tell you that you can save 82% of your electricity bill? Well, you would either save it, you would maybe live a much nicer life every day, you would make different choices, but the point is that cash in your life would be freed up. They saved a whole bunch of emissions as well, which was 3,570 metric tons. And if you're a company leader, you know that emissions and emission taxes are something that is coming up in the EU and also in Iceland. So this is something that we really need to start putting into our company strategy. On a scale, this would last a car 1,460 years. Okay, so all of those emissions they saved a bunch of cash, and even before they brought this new generation of cars to market, they got a whole load of great PR. So already this image was coming out about BMW. One of the analysts said, the success of the BMW group has always been based on long-term thinking. And long-term thinking is really like the key factor here. And responsible action. The company has therefore established ecological and social sustainability throughout the value chain, from the beginning to end. Comprehensive product responsibility, and a clear commitment to conserving resources as an integral part of its strategy. Before they rolled things out, the smart move to host their R&D in a superior location already gained them a whole bunch of great PR about their company. And that put attention to them from the generations, from the target audiences that they haven't had before. Now, what did they achieve regarding business? I would like to suggest that they created a new bar. And not a bar that we're going to go to tonight. I'm talking about a bar that, you know, when you jump, people usually put it higher and higher and higher, and it's popular to say that he raised the bar higher. Well, they created a new bar, because in 2013 and 14, they were the first ones that developed and brought to market one of the first high-capacity luxury electric cars. This really gave them a takeoff as a company, because if you think about it, and this is a very simple observation, okay? Before 2013 or 14, you didn't see luxury long-range electric vehicles. It's just a fact. Electric vehicles have been around since the 20s, actually, but we haven't seen this sort of luxury approach, first and foremost, and also there were no like urban cars that were attractive and appealing to a younger audience that were living in cities and so on. So this was really something that they accelerated themselves towards by doing their research and development in a smarter way. When it comes to their market share, 22% of the German market they managed to get with this car, Norway 27%, Europe 17%. This is a dramatic increase in market share just with these two cars. The i8 as well, it's coming up. When it comes to awards, the i3 won a whole bunch of awards because it was just unique on the market at that moment. Starting in 2013 in Germany and latest in 2017, last year, it was the World Urban Car Award, and they keep on developing this car. Not only did they bring it first, they defined the race, they started the race, but they keep on developing it. The i8 has been enjoying a lot of praise, and this is just a tiny bit of information that I found about it. It won the International Engine of the Year award 3 years in a row, and the plug-in hybrid version of it has risen to the world's most successful hybrid sports car. Now, just that is a business case, I think. Just because they decided and they understood that they need to think outside the box and put things where they make most sense, they were able to define and create a whole new market. In fact, 2016, 2017, you can see on the graph that BMW were the best selling luxury hybrid and electric cars in Europe, followed by Mercedes, Tesla, Volvo, and Audi. And in fact, when you read about it in articles, they say that, oh, you know, we didn't see Tesla before that, but they got on their toes when they saw that. In fact, if you take a look at every single car manufacturer today, they all have an electric version, good or not, from their brand. Before 2013-14, this was just simply not there. Now, I'm not saying that that is a fact, but I'm saying that that is a very valid observation that we can draw conclusions from. What are BMW doing today? This is a really sleek car that I was told by my colleagues to put up because this is the iNext, and until last year, this was just a concept car. Okay, this was something that they were going to make like in 100 years. Now, because they are harnessing the right forces of nature, the right prices, the right, you know, they are doing, they're basically getting the biggest bang for the buck. They are doing more with much less. They are able to actually bring this one to the market in 3 years. In fact, last week, they said, hey, forget the Tesla Model 3, which is the highest range EV on the market. We are actually designing the largest battery on the market. And just to understand this, when you're talking about EVs, efficiency and aerodynamics is something that really matters, because you have a limited amount of power, and because electricity and charging is not at the point where oil is, you really need to have the most efficiency, the most aerodynamics, and you need to make the most out of the energy that you have in that car at that specific point. So when it comes to developing EVs, high-performance computing is essential, simply because you're able to develop that car in a quicker way, but also in the most optimal and efficient way. And now, just about a month ago, they said that they are confident that they are aiming for 50% increase in EVs sales next year. So they are actually focusing on growing even more. Autonomous vehicles, which takes a lot of technology and energy to create and actually make it function. They are saying they're coming in 2021. And this is an interesting article that I read just last week. BMW are still ahead. They are still popular. BMW are ahead of Mercedes and Audi on Google Trends, which is measured on how much people are searching for this car and how many click-throughs there are. In fact, the big logistics company DHL are trusting BMW with the i3 battery for all of their electric trucks. And electric trucks are really a hot topic right now in the EV industry. And the fact that DHL are deciding to trust BMW, yes, they're German, but they wouldn't be trusting someone that wouldn't know what they're doing. So if we take a look back, okay, so this would be a really cool case study. Right? BMW moved their R&D to Iceland, really cool, enjoyed an amazing growth. But I'm talking about trends. In 2016, another giant saw this progress of BMW, and they said, you know what? We cannot wait any longer. We need to keep on running this race, and we need to be ahead. So in 2016, the CEO of Volkswagen said, the transformation, which I suggested BMW took off, in our industry is unstoppable. He's talking about EVs. And we will lead that transformation. That is a bold statement by Volkswagen. They're a giant, that are a combustion engine giant. And generate the money we need to make these investments. Immediately afterwards, they say they are moving to Verne Global's Icelandic data center. If you remember the analogy that I made between the electric bill and the 82% saving, I think that the Volkswagen CEO meant that he will generate the money to make these this EV transformation in Volkswagen possible by just putting his R&D, his high-performance computing, which is essential to manufacturing development, into a smart place, into Iceland, the superior location. And indeed, if we take a look at the pattern is very similar. Volkswagen are saying they are building EV versions of all 300 models by 2030. They are saying that they will spend a massive amount of cash to do this and another 50 billion euros to buy the batteries. Analysts are saying that Volkswagen's plans are the most ambitious in the automotive industry. Now, this makes me think back. What pattern am I seeing right now? BMW moved their clusters to a smart place to research and develop, like the virtual lab. This is the lab of the future, to a smart place, to Iceland. Volkswagen did the same thing. These are giants. These are not EV or electric born vehicles. These are the giants of the industry that are really difficult to move. And these guys are doing the smart thing. They have actually the same thing that is coming up. Is there a trend? Volkswagen are putting out concept cars, electric vehicle concept cars, and they're saying, you know, they are really buckling down on an EV future. Remember, electric vehicle needs efficiency, needs optimal aerodynamics. They vow faster turnaround, which means that they need to have the cash to do that turnaround, right? They are very confident with the ID Buzz, the three cars that you see that are being presented, that are coming, in fact, in 2019, 2020. They have come up with the public transport solution, which is automated, which is sort of like Uber, but a bus. So they are really, you know, to be Volkswagen, which is like the old guy of the industry, they are so incredibly innovative. And this all happened after they decided to put their clusters, their research and development, their lab, into the superior place, into Iceland's conditions, and so they can do more with much less. Now, I know we are short on time, and I'm almost running out, so let's make our conclusions. As you might notice, I'm very keen on this subject, and I have so much knowledge in my head that I would like to include, but anyway, let's take a look back from BMW and Volkswagen, and let's just see the pattern in here, okay? So let's go to the key points. A market leader made a bold and strategic first-of-a-kind move, which was very brave, to move the computers, the high-performance computers, into Iceland, which has the superior combination of these factors that come together to host it. They reaped rewards instantly and long-term. Which ones? Dramatic expense savings. They accelerated in knowledge and understanding of efficiency, aerodynamics. They brought to market the first high-capacity luxury electric vehicles successfully. Their market share saw a huge change. They got an increase in sales, as we saw on one of the graphs. They won a ton of awards. They freed up funds. They are now soaring on electric vehicle future. They have these batteries coming up. I mean, they just redefined the market completely. Now, they created a trend because another giant decided to make the same decision. They didn't want to be behind. They're like, okay, so this seems to be the recipe to be ahead. Let's do this as well. And they didn't fail. In fact, they succeeded as well. And it's still early days to see. But we see a pattern between these two. They are changing the future outlook. They have bolder statements. They are claiming an electric vehicle future. They have demonstrated a clear progress in present and future timelines. BMW and Volkswagen today, if you take a look at the race that all of the car manufacturers are running, are really ahead of the traditional guys, such as Audi, such as Mercedes, because these guys have already started something that the other ones are working on. As the huge guys of the industry, as the conservative guys, they are impressively competitive with the recent startups such as Tesla, and BMW are actually making these statements saying, forget it, forget the Model 3, we are going further. What made it happen? Well, my research suggests that the optimal case scenario for high-performance computing, for energy hungry, for heat-producing applications were put in the superior, not the only, but superior place in the world for these pursuits. The unrivaled high-performance computing, or IT profile, enabled these manufacturers and continues to drive this, this transformation, especially in the manufacturing field. So I would like to suggest that harnessing these conditions and applying high-performance computing in any industry, whether it is healthcare, whether it is manufacturing, is the superior way to succeed in manufacturing of the future. I believe that Iceland has a tremendous opportunity to become the brain of the world, and I think that we should make any effort to make this happen, to get those big companies to innovate here and do much more for less and take us to the future. Thank you.